morning, everybody. I appreciate all of you carving out some time during this holiday to spend some time with us celebrating the birth and life of Christ. We're not going to keep you too long. I know you have families to get to, but we have prepared a couple of songs here that echo that celebration that this day is meant for. So I hope you'll sing this with us. 'Cause Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand when everything around me is shaken. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus, 'cause he's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. Oh, he won't. I've still got joy in chaos. Now I've still got joy in chaos. I've got peace that makes no sense. So I won't be going under. No, I'm not held by my own strength, 'cause I built my life on Jesus. 'Cause he's never let me down. He's faithful through every season. So why would he fail now? He won't. on, sing oh with us. I'm gonna make it through. My house was built on you. Christ is my firm foundation. Oh, the rock on which I stand when everything around me is shaking. Yeah. Oh, I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus. 'Cause he's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. Oh no, he won't. Oh, he won't fail. He won't fail. He won't. No, we believe he won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. Let's sing Rains Came together. 'Cause rains came, winds blew, my house was built on you. I'm safe with you. Let's sing I'm gonna make it through together. I'm gonna make it through. 'Cause I'm standing strong on you. We believe that I'm gonna make it through. 'Cause I'm gonna make it through one more time. Oh, I'm gonna make it through. 'Cause I'm standing strong on you.
When you live a lifetime, as one author calls it, a long walk of obedience. This long walk of obedience, it's not always a straight path. There are ups and downs, like that song depicted, but it's a long walk in that direction towards the Lord. And you can't ask for anything else. A child of yours that lives in general obedience is how many people want to have a kid and they go, yeah, they were pretty much a pleasure to raise. Yeah, they had issues. They had their down days, but they were a pleasure to raise. I just feel like God's looking at us. He's not sitting there, the big, great smiter, looking for a way to take us out when we fail him, but he's super patient. And, that's why he's called on us for forgiveness and to give each other a break from time. We just give each other a break. If there's an old saying, it said, if all of our troubles were hung on a line, you choose yours and I choose mine. And it's that's the way it is. We see the troubles. I can't always see your dirty laundry and you can't always see mine. But if it was all hung out there, we might go, yeah, I'll take what I've got. And so this whole season, I can't imagine that how many people, we walk around and there's this expectation that it's, tinsel and bells and happy sounds. But it's not that for everybody. And sometimes just talking those tones can even drive a little deeper. People feeling, their need of something. But if they would learn this name that Amy was encouraging us to just speak, to just whisper, there's a name, Jesus. And it's not about all this other stuff that it gets wrapped around it. It gets super, super simple when we just call on the name of the Lord and we decide, I'm going that way. I don't know what it means. I don't know what my life is going to bring, but this is the direction I'm going. I'm putting a step I'm putting a stake in the ground. This is where it begins. It begins today. I'm going to believe in this, and I'm moving in that direction. And there's going to be times when you're in the valley and you're not going to be able to see. And then there's other times when you're going to come up on the vistas and it's going to reveal everything that there is to reveal. There's a verse here in the book of Hebrews that I want to start with. And I'm not going to talk long because I have my TPAC tickets. And so I want to make sure that I get there in time. Oh, wouldn't you know, you have TPAC tickets and you have a little tickle in your throat. I'll be coughing the whole time. The nutcracker's going on, but hey, whatever. And then it's Maggiano's. It's on to Maggiano's after that. So whatever your day holds for you, for me and my unmarried girls, that's what has become is Christmas Eve. We had to change traditions. Sometimes you go through life. I had a lot of kids and we get to a certain age and then the traditions change. And now we're in this new little phase. So here we are. But I just want to read this verse to you. This is about walking through life and not only your individual life, but I want you to think about the life of all of humanity that's depicted in this book. This is a book that really depicts all of human history. From the Egyptian Empire to the Assyrian Empire, the Babylonian Empire, Persians, Greeks, Romans. And when you get through that many empires and that many ups and downs for people who are just pawns in the big scheme of things, when you get done running this whole journey, pretty much every aspect of our life is fairly well covered. But this is one of these places in this first chapter of Hebrews, that it is a time when humanity comes up for air and is able to breathe. Have you ever been up into the high mountains? I used to love doing that when I was in Southern California. I grew up in the valley, Chino Valley, and getting up out of that smog layer up into Big Bear or Mount Baldy or one of those mountains that surrounded us there in that basin, I'd get up there and I could just breathe. Big pine air, crisp and clear. It just felt like it was good. So if maybe you're in a high pine air time of your life, or maybe you're down there in smoggy Chino Valley, wherever you are, this is an opportunity to just vicariously breathe in for the story of history and what they were seeing. It says, long ago, this is Hebrews, the first chapter, first verse. Long ago, at many times and in many ways, God spoke to our fathers by the prophets. But in these last days, he has spoken to us by his Son, whom he appointed the heir of all things, through whom also he created the world. He, this Son, is the radiance of the glory of God and the exact imprint of his nature. That's why we're singing Emmanuel, God with us. He's the exact imprint of his nature, and he upholds the universe by the word of his power. After making purifications for sins, he sat down on the right hand of the Majesty on high, and having becoming as high, as much more superior to angels as the name he has inherited is much more excellent than theirs. And that's the opening statement of Hebrews. And as we went through the book of Hebrews earlier this year, you know that it continues to magnify this one who's the exact imprint, this one who sustains the universe by the word of his power. And when you go back into the story, this is a point in the history of the Jewish people, but then it becomes our story as people within the church and Gentiles and non-believers and everybody. This becomes part of our story if we choose it. We can sit up here and we can look that God, in many times and in many ways, diverse ways, diversified ways, God has attempted to speak to the people of this planet. He's tried to reveal himself in a way that they could understand. And God doesn't use big, complicated words. I tell you, I sometimes here I talk about things and I go into some detail. It's because we all live in the 21st century. We're not born in the ancient Near East, the culture. There has to be some sort of a bridge to connect us with those times in the past. But once that bridge is created, if I can lay a groundwork for what they were experiencing, we'll find that it is everything that we're experiencing today. But even without that, you could read your life into the ups and downs of this book. You don't need a backstory. You could read your life into it. It's all in there. But in that beginning, and it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. I think it's really interesting that Einstein was once, and I'll just butcher his quote, but he was talking about, he walked in, somebody wanted him to show the theories that he had, and the guy had written just layers and layers and layers and layers of proof on a blackboard. He asked Einstein to come in and review it. Einstein walks in there and he goes, so what do you think? As Einstein was reading, and he says, yeah, it's not right. And Einstein, and he said, what do you mean? You haven't really been able to take it all in. He says, it's too much. It's too complicated. This whole thing is bound together in less complicated things. That's why his theory, E equals MC squared, his theory of relativity is such a small and simple calculation. But because when you start to get to the fundamentals of how the universe is held together by the word of his power, you start to realize that it is a simple thing. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the earth. And God's Spirit hovered over the deep, and God said, let there be. Very simple, three words of a single syllable. And in that simple 3 syllables, something began. Now, whether it took 4 trillion years, as the Hubble telescope is trying to tell us that it took, or this new scope that we got out there that's now revealing, all the anomalies that Hubble was detecting, was like, what's going on here? Hubble, see, the scientist Hubble, I don't know why I'm getting into all this stuff, but I'm winging it. Hubble believed that there was this big inflation of the universe from the point of the Big Bang and on. They didn't have it called the Big Bang at the time that Hubble said this stuff, but he said it just is expanding like a big balloon. He could see the Doppler effect out in the universe, and he was like, oh yeah, I think this is what's going on, big expansion. So then we throw a great big mirror telescope up into the atmosphere, and we're pointing it at all this stuff, and now we're going, wow, it's way crazier than we thought. But we don't know the crazy. We can't really define how weird the universe is. So we send up another telescope, more fantastic. And the universe has gotten so weird that they've now gone from being 4 trillion years old, and now they're saying it's got to at least be 17 trillion years old. I'm just telling you, we're just going to continue to discover things that's going to cause us to think, my God, what is happening? Now, whether God did it in 7 literal days or God did it in 17 trillion years, I don't care. But God began to speak, and something began to happen. And like Will Harrison used to say, think about the long game. God is playing the long game. If it was 4 trillion or 17 trillion to get to this point, to get to where you and I are so that he could commune with us, how did God know that it was not good for man to be alone? Maybe he had spent a good minute waiting for that moment when man was ready to come on this planet and he could begin to commune with him, when man could begin to look up into this observable universe and just extol glories to God like David did when he says, when I consider the heavens, the works of the hands, the sun, the moon, and the stars, what is man that you are mindful of him, or the son of man that you visited him? You made him a little lower than the angel, but you've crowned him with glory and honor, and you've set him over the works of your hands. Man, that's what Hebrews 1 is talking about. It's saying all of this destiny, all of this from the beginning, from Adam, it was going to culminate someday in this person, Jesus. A baby lying in a manger, speaking baby talk, speaking little bit. He had to be swaddled. He had to be wrapped in swaddling clothes. Why? Wasn't he the cosmic God of the universe? Why swaddle him? Was he going to die prematurely? Here was a vulnerable baby. This is how God reveals himself to us, through vulnerability, through weakness. When he sent Joseph and Mary on this errand to walk around for the rest of their life with a mark on them of certain behavior. When Joseph decided to take on Mary's scorn and carry her along, together they were going to bear the marks of the scorn that God knew that they were going to have to bear. What a beautiful thing to carry the marks. Paul says, I bear in my body the marks. There's a thing we don't, in pop culture Christianity, there's not a lot of bearing your marks. But when you begin to do like the people of God are called to do in Romans 8, to not live according to the flesh, but allow the Spirit and the presence of God to become that indwelling of God, to put away the works of the flesh. That's not a big laundry list of thou shalt nots. That's a time when you are resisting the things that you want your rights. You have your rights, and then you resist your rights. The world is waiting for people like that. But whether you've ever read this Bible study, there's a big kind of push right now not to pay much attention to the Old Testament. That was for Jews. That was for somebody else. It's not for you. But this, and you may never read it, but when you go and read the ups and downs of the history of mankind, you're going to realize that you're found in there. From the moment they left the garden, the betrayal, it was the woman you gave me. I mean, right off the bat, Adam's distancing himself from the deed, right? Adam's distancing himself from the deed. The woman you gave me. Wow, how vulnerable did she feel at that moment? It's like it's you and her and the guy, and now you're stepping out of the way. God wasn't going to let that happen. Then you have the betrayal of brothers. You have the building of cities. You have the making of weapons of war. You can't get out of the first 8 chapters of the book of Genesis, and you've got weapons of war. You've got betrayal. You've got murder. You've got judgment on one another. My God, what is happening? And then as you just continue to go on, you see people groping in the dark. Nations, 70 nations come out of the Tower of Babel and out of the flood. 70 nations coming out of those 3 boys. That leads us to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. The nation of Egypt begins to build up. You've got the people of God struggling to find their way and fulfill the promises that are made to Abraham, only to see the kings fail, see their priests fail. And finally, God begins to raise up prophets to speak in unusual ways and in kind of poetic ways at the things that are going wrong within Israel. That was kind of opaque. They couldn't understand what the prophets were saying, or they just decided they didn't want to believe what the prophets were saying. So then there were scribes and there were rabbis that created commentaries and writings. Oh, this is what the prophets meant. That's what the prophets meant. Year after year, decade after decade of men putting more and heavier burdens on the people of God. Weight upon weight, commentary upon commentary, until that the thing that God was trying to get through got obscured. That small, simple voice of God, let there be, became obscured by layers and layers and layers of commentary and opinion and belief. And finally, these prophets, they left their works. Finally, a baby born in the manger rises up, grows up, walks into a synagogue one day like his custom was. He had done this many times before. And don't be surprised if young men and young women don't come in here like they've done many times before. But then one day they speak in a way that completely transforms us. There will be people in this community that will rise up. You'll think, oh, well, that's just Bill. Oh, that's just Martha. Oh, that's just Katie. And they're going to speak and they're going to transform the world. People that we might say, well, they had that thing in the past. If I didn't get across to you going through Matthew 1, that Jesus was once and for all dealing with all the pasts of all humanity, all the brokenness of humanity, all rolled up into one long genealogy, all the failures and all the abuses, everything that could come against him. He right there embraced it all. Then he spends a ministry of being rejected by the learned, rejected by those scholars that wanted to maintain control. All he wanted to do was put you back in contact with God. If you will just allow God to have control of your life, have sway in your life, you don't need layers and layers of commentary. Read with me. When you begin to read this word, you're going to see the hurts that you've felt, the things that you've gone through, the feeling that you have that you're not going to have enough, that there's never enough, that you've got to take what's not yours. All of those feelings of inadequacy, of brokenness, of darkness, all of those things are found in here in this story. But they get solved in a baby born in a manger, a man who grows up and he grabs the scroll out of the leader's hand there within that synagogue. And he begins to quote one of the prophets, Isaiah. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has called me to preach his gospel to the poor, to deliver the captives, to set at liberty those that are bound. And then he takes the scroll and he puts it away. The amazing thing about those words that he was quoting for Isaiah, because right after that, Isaiah goes into butt-kicking mode when he's talking about the Gentiles. God is coming down and he's kicking booty. He's tearing them up, man. And it's all for you. You guys are the head and they're the tail. But Jesus doesn't lay that out there. He just says, I'm here to preach deliverance to the captive, to the bound, to the poor. I'm here to preach something that is for everybody, and it's all about freedom and deliverance. And he's there in his home synagogue, and they're like, well, that was gracious. It says they marveled at the gracious words of the Lord. And I thought to myself, well, all my life I've been reading that and said, oh yeah, if I say that the words that you're saying are gracious, I mean, they're pretty good, right? It's almost like saying, man, that's righteous. Those are the good. They marveled at the gracious words of Jesus. No, they marveled that he was being gracious to the Gentiles. And once they realize what he was about, they take him. They go marveling at him to wanting to kill him. And that's what Jesus bore. But a long time ago, and in many ways, God spoke to the fathers by the prophets. But you know what? We didn't need another commentary. We didn't need another person to layer on some new thing. We needed somebody to come along with revelation. Somebody that would declare once and for all what is the character of God. When you read this Old Testament, people are going to claim things about God that are not true. It's what their perspective was. It's what they had experienced God as. But once and for all, Jesus came and he declared. It said, the only Son who is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him. There is one final revelation. And when we tap back into that, if we'll preach Jesus, we're doing it all. All that's needed. When you're going through your life and you've heard the Jesus story and it's like, well, once you become a Christian, it's all your rainbows and unicorns and roses. No, it's not. It's not all rainbows, unicorns, and roses. But it's a lot better than it was when you were going through all that hell without him. When you have some sort of a hope for the suffering, When you walk through life and you feel like, okay, this is bad, but now you've got some sort of a hope tied to that suffering. And this is not some sort of like, some sort of fiction. We don't have to make stuff up. It's not like mind games or word games. I have actually had, Amy, in a moment when I was gripped in fear, uncertainty, doubt, when darkness seemed to be crouching in on me, I have just cried out, Jesus, help me. Give me the guidance, direct me, Jesus. And I have walked seconds later. I can't explain it. Seconds later, I walked away. The circumstances didn't change. Maybe they became worse than they were before. But at the end of the day, I walked out of there. Did something happen to the child? Something happened to my perspective. And I could then walk out and be somebody different than I was a moment ago. That's why we don't know how to pray for the problems that we're trying to solve. This groanings that cannot be uttered. But there's a spirit that God has given us. There's a spirit here that God has given that interacts with the spirit, with God himself. And it's through that prayer that we will pray as we ought, even when we don't know what it is. We open our hearts. We begin to say, Lord, I have no idea, but I know you. My confidence is in you. As a priest of God, I'm going to do what I need to do and let you do the rest. For unto us a son was given. Unto us a child was born. All the government will be upon his shoulders. He'll be called an everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. To us, this son whom he appointed heir of all things was given to us. A baby in a manger. Let's not try to be more or say more than that. Let's not get more complicated than the innocence of God in a manger, and that wrecks the entire world. The power structures, the darkness that Herod operated in was undermined in a moment by a baby. The power that Pilate thought he had when he says, do you not know that I have power to release you or to condemn you? And he says, the only power you have has been given to you by God. We can walk into this world and we can be, the power structures break down under that lamb to the slaughter approach. Let's be who God has called us to be. Let's not shrink back. The world is waiting for us to be like the one, the champion of our faith. This guy right here. They're waiting for us to be that kind of humble people